Some questions have answers, and some remain mysteries, whispering to us from the edges of understanding. Tonight, as you close your eyes and let your thoughts wander, we'll explore the riddles that have puzzled humanity for centuries. These are the mysteries that science can't explain, the strange coincidences that seem too perfect to ignore, and the questions about reality itself that have no clear answers. But you don't need to solve them. Just let them unfold like a dream, carrying you deeper into relaxation. There's something peaceful about embracing the unknown, about letting go of the need for certainty and simply drifting through the mystery. So settle in, breathe deeply, and let your mind wander. These are the unsolved riddles of reality, and they're here to guide you into sleep. The Voynich Manuscript, the book that no one can read. There are books that tell stories, books that record history, and books that reveal secrets. But then, there are books like the Voynich Manuscript, an enigma bound in parchment, inked with symbols that refuse to be understood. It is a book that whispers of knowledge long forgotten, or perhaps knowledge that was never meant for us at all. Discovered in 1912 by an antiquarian named Wilfred Voynich, this mysterious codex has defied every attempt at translation. Its pages are filled with flowing script in an unknown language, accompanied by illustrations of strange plants, celestial diagrams, and figures immersed in peculiar rituals. No known alphabet matches its characters. No modern scholar or advanced cryptographic system has been able to unlock its meaning. It exists in a space between history and myth, an unsolved riddle waiting in silence. As you close your eyes and allow your mind to drift, imagine yourself in a dimly lit library, dust motes floating in the air, the scent of ancient paper surrounding you. A single book sits on an ornate wooden table before you, its cover worn, its pages thick with time. You reach out, and as your fingers graze its surface, you feel the weight of something inexplicable. The pages turn easily beneath your touch, revealing elegant but indecipherable writing. The letters flow together in a way that seems deliberate, purposeful, yet their meaning remains just out of reach. This is the frustration scholars have felt for centuries. A text that seems like it should make sense, but never does. Some believe the manuscript is a lost work of an ancient civilization, its language forgotten with time. Others speculate it could be the creation of a brilliant mind, encoding wisdom in a cipher so complex that even modern technology cannot break it. There are those who whisper of secret societies, of hidden knowledge passed down through generations, locked away within these pages. And then there are the skeptics, who wonder if the book is nothing more than an elaborate hoax, a meaningless collection of symbols designed to perplex and mislead. Yet even this theory feels unsatisfying. Why would someone go through such immense effort to create something so detailed, so intricate, only to leave it without explanation? Picture yourself flipping through the pages, your fingertips brushing over the inked symbols. Some of the drawings show plants, leaves and stems twisting into unfamiliar shapes. Botanists have tried to identify them, but they do not match any known species. Are they records of lost flora, extinct before we ever had a chance to name them? Or are they the products of an imagination, depicting things that have never existed in this world? The possibility lingers in the air, like an unanswered question. And then, there are the astronomical diagrams, charts of stars and celestial formations. Do they map out a secret knowledge of the cosmos? Are they messages from an ancient astronomer who saw something in the sky that we have yet to discover? Theories abound, yet none bring clarity. The more we study, the more the mystery deepens. The book does not give up its secrets easily. Now, let your thoughts drift further. Imagine the person who wrote this manuscript centuries ago, dipping their quill into ink, carefully forming each symbol with intention. Were they recording knowledge passed down from generations before them? Or were they inventing something new, weaving together ideas in a language of their own? Did they expect their words to be understood one day? Or were they writing for themselves alone? A voice reaching out across time, unheard and unread. Over the years, experts in cryptography, linguistics, and artificial intelligence have attempted to crack the code. Each time they think they are close to an answer, the manuscript eludes them. Some believe the text follows linguistic patterns, yet it does not correspond to any known language. Others argue that the writing mimics the structure of a real language, but lacks meaning, like an illusion, a puzzle designed without a solution. Even the most advanced computational algorithms have failed to provide a definitive breakthrough. It is as though the book is alive, resisting interpretation, refusing to be understood. And so, it sits in Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library, locked in its glass case, waiting. People travel from all over the world just to see it, to stand before it, to stare at its cryptic pages, and to feel the weight of an unsolved mystery pressing upon them. But no matter how long they look, no matter how much they study, the truth remains elusive. As you sink deeper into sleep, imagine the manuscript resting on a wooden desk beneath candlelight, its pages slightly curled with age. The flickering flame casts dancing shadows across the text, making the symbols appear to shift and move. Perhaps, in dreams, the answer will come. Perhaps the mind, free from the constraints of logic and reason, will grasp what no waking thought has managed to hold. But until then, the Voynich Manuscript remains as it always has, silent, waiting, keeping its secrets hidden from those who seek them. Let the mystery guide you into sleep, letting go of the need for answers, drifting into the peaceful unknown. The Zodiac letters, the killer's unsolved code. There are mysteries that linger in the back of the mind, puzzles left unsolved, questions left unanswered. Some of them are harmless curiosities, the kind that drift in and out of conversation, like passing clouds. But others are different. They settle into history like shadows, whispering of something that was never fully understood, never completely revealed. The Zodiac Killer is one such shadow, a figure whose identity remains unknown, a specter of fear that once haunted the streets of California. But more than the crimes, more than the fear, what lingers most are the letters, encrypted, taunting, filled with messages that have yet to be deciphered. They are pieces of a puzzle that remains incomplete, a game played decades ago with no final answer. Now, let your mind drift to a different time, a different place. The late 1960s. The world is shifting, changing, moving forward into an era of hope and transformation. But beneath the surface, something darker stirs. A killer emerges, sending cryptic letters to newspapers, daring the police to catch him, leaving behind ciphers that still refuse to be fully understood. Imagine those letters, yellowed pages covered in strange symbols, arranged in a way that suggests meaning but refuses to reveal it. Some were solved, their messages disturbing yet clear. Others remain locked, as if the truth is just out of reach. One of the first ciphers, known as the 408-character cryptogram, was cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife. Its message was chilling, a rambling statement about how killing people brought the writer pleasure, how they would never be caught. But even in that confession, there was something unsettling, something incomplete. Because while the words were readable, the name, the identity of the one who wrote them, was missing. The puzzle, it seemed, was only just beginning. Then came the 340-character cipher, a new challenge, a fresh enigma. For decades, it stood untouched, its symbols resisting all attempts at translation. Cryptographers, code breakers, and amateur sleuths alike pored over it, trying to unlock its meaning. It wasn't until 2020, over 50 years after it was first sent, that a team of researchers finally cracked it. The message inside was yet another taunt, more words from the Zodiac, boasting of his ability to evade capture. But the most important detail, the killer's name, was still missing. And then, there are the unsolved ones. The Z13 and Z32 ciphers, shorter, more compact, and still to this day, unreadable. Some believe these contain the Zodiac's real identity. Others think they are meaningless, a trick to keep investigators chasing ghosts. The possibility lingers in the air like a question that no one can quite answer. Is the truth hidden in these ciphers, or was it never there at all? Now, imagine those pieces of paper, held in shaking hands, examined under dim light. The ink, slightly faded with time. The symbols, lined up neatly, their meaning obscured by the passage of years. Picture the minds that have tried to solve them. Experts, enthusiasts, ordinary people, staring at a screen or a page, hoping for that one breakthrough moment where everything clicks into place. But it hasn't happened. Not yet. The Zodiac's letters weren't just about communication. They were a game, a challenge to those who sought to bring him to justice. He wanted to be understood, but only on his terms. He craved recognition, but refused to reveal the one thing that mattered most: his name. He manipulated the public, creating a persona so infamous that even now, decades later, people still search for him in every unsolved cipher, in every old newspaper clipping, in every whispered theory that spreads online. As you let your thoughts drift, consider the possibility that the answer is out there, waiting, that someone, somewhere, might be staring at those letters right now, eyes scanning the symbols, mind working through every possible meaning. And maybe, just maybe, the solution is closer than we think. Or perhaps it will remain a mystery, forever unsolved, lost in the passage of time. Imagine the Zodiac himself, whoever he was, sitting at a desk, carefully constructing his ciphers. Did he believe they would ever be solved, or did he deliberately create something impossible? The thought lingers, stretching across the decades. Was he laughing as he wrote, or was he simply playing a game with no real end? The names of suspects have come and gone. Some theories seem more plausible than others, but none have been proven beyond a doubt. Could the Zodiac have been someone unexpected, hiding in plain sight? Could he have lived out the rest of his life, watching as people struggled to decode his messages, knowing they never would? Or did he disappear into obscurity, his story unfinished, his identity fading like ink on old paper? The idea that a killer could leave behind a trail of clues and yet remain unknown is unsettling, but it is also fascinating. The Zodiac's letters are more than just messages. They are a reminder of how little we truly know, how some mysteries refuse to be solved, no matter how much effort we put into them. As sleep begins to take hold, let the mystery settle into your thoughts like a puzzle with missing pieces. Some things may never be understood, some riddles may never be solved, but that in itself is part of their power. The Zodiac letters sit in archives, in files, in the hands of those who still search for answers. They are waiting, just as they always have been, quiet, unbroken, challenging the world to understand them. Maybe one day, the final cipher will be cracked. Maybe the last piece of the puzzle will fall into place. Or maybe, like so many other things, the truth will simply fade into history, unsolved and unknown. The Taos hum, a sound only some can hear. There are sounds in this world that everyone can hear. The laughter of a friend, the rustling of leaves in the wind, the gentle rhythm of raindrops tapping against a window. These sounds are familiar, comforting, shared by all. But imagine a sound that not everyone can perceive, a noise that hums through the air, constant yet elusive, heard by only a select few. This is the mystery of the Taos hum, a low droning sound reported by residents of Taos, New Mexico, for decades. Some describe it as a distant diesel engine idling in the background, others as a deep vibration that never truly fades. Yet for all its persistence, no one has ever identified its true source. Picture a quiet town, nestled in the high desert of northern New Mexico. The air is still, the sky stretching endlessly above, the landscape bathed in golden light as the sun sets behind the mountains. It is a place of serenity, a place where one might expect to hear only the whisper of the wind or the occasional call of a distant bird. But for some, there is something else, a sound ever present, just beneath the threshold of perception. It begins as a faint murmur, barely noticeable at first, but once heard, it cannot be ignored. For those who hear the Taos hum, it is more than just a curiosity. It is an intrusion, an ever-present companion that refuses to be silenced. Some report that it grows louder at night, making sleep difficult, filling the silence with an invisible weight. Others say it is strongest indoors, as if the walls of their homes amplify the unseen vibration. Strangely, no microphones or recording devices have ever successfully captured the sound. It is as if the hum exists, just outside the reach of technology, perceptible only to the human ear. Scientists have tried to explain it, of course. Some believe it is an environmental phenomenon caused by distant industrial activity, underground vibrations, or even shifts in atmospheric pressure. Others have suggested it could be a form of tinnitus, an internal sound created by the brain, rather than an external noise. But none of these theories fully account for the selective nature of the hum. Why do only some people hear it, while others remain completely unaware? Why does it persist in Taos, even when no clear source has ever been found? There are those who speculate that the Taos hum is not a sound at all, but a sensation, something felt rather than heard. They describe it as a deep resonating vibration that seems to pass through their bodies, more like a pressure than a noise. If this is true, then perhaps the mystery lies not in the air, but within the very perception of those who experience it. And then, there are the more unusual theories. Some believe the hum is a secret military experiment, a low-frequency wave designed for unknown purposes. Others suggest it is linked to seismic activity, a deep geological resonance that only certain individuals are sensitive to. And of course, there are those who entertain even stranger ideas, whispers of extraterrestrial signals, underground civilizations, or energies beyond human understanding. Yet, for all the speculation, the Taos hum remains unsolved. People come and go from the town, some noticing nothing unusual, others immediately struck by the sound that seems to follow them wherever they go. It is not constant for everyone. Some days it is stronger, other times it fades, as if responding to something unseen. The hum is unpredictable, its nature shifting like a shadow, impossible to pin down. Imagine living with such a sound, a presence that no one else around you seems to notice. You ask your neighbors, your friends, the person sitting next to you at the cafe, "Do you hear that?" Some shake their heads, confused, hearing nothing but silence. Others nod knowingly, eyes filled with the shared understanding of something unexplainable. At night, when the town is quiet and the world is asleep, the hum remains. It hums through the walls, beneath the floorboards, in the spaces between thoughts. For some, it is a mild curiosity, a strange and persistent oddity. For others, it is a burden, a sound they can never escape. Perhaps the most unsettling thing about the Taos hum is that it is not unique. Similar hums have been reported in places across the world, in England, in Canada, in Australia. Always low, always droning, always beyond easy explanation. Could they all be connected, or is each one its own separate anomaly, arising independently in different corners of the world? Consider, for a moment, the possibility that the hum is something natural, something ancient, a sound woven into the fabric of the earth itself, unnoticed for centuries, only now revealing itself to those attuned to its frequency. Or perhaps it has always been there, waiting, humming beneath the surface of reality, a sound just beyond the edge of ordinary perception. And so, the mystery lingers, unsolved. Researchers continue their studies, residents continue to report their experiences, and yet no definitive answer emerges. The Taos hum remains what it has always been, a question with no answer, a sound with no source, a puzzle that refuses to be solved. As you drift into sleep, imagine that hum stretching across the desert, through the mountains, through time itself. A sound only some can hear, whispering through the quiet of the night, waiting, as it always has, just beneath the threshold of understanding. The wow signal, a possible message from deep space. There are moments in history when something so inexplicable, so deeply mysterious, enters our collective consciousness and refuses to let go. The wow signal is one of those moments, a fleeting 72-second radio transmission from deep space, recorded in 1977, that has never been heard again. A whisper from the cosmos that scientists have spent decades trying to decode. Was it a natural anomaly, a cosmic coincidence, or something far more profound? As you close your eyes and drift into relaxation, let your mind wander into the great unknown, where radio waves traverse the vacuum of space, carrying secrets we may never fully understand. It was a quiet summer evening on August 15, 1977, when Dr. Jerry Eman, a volunteer astronomer at Ohio State University, noticed something peculiar while analyzing data from the Big Ear radio telescope. The telescope was scanning the sky, listening for unusual signals as part of the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence SETI program. Most of the time, the data recorded nothing but the usual background noise of the universe, faint whispers of distant stars and galaxies. But then, something happened. A signal, unlike anything ever detected before, appeared on the printout. It wasn't weak, distorted, or intermittent. It was loud, strong, and sustained, lasting a full 72 seconds. Eamon circled the sequence of numbers and letters that represented its intensity, 6EQJ5, and in his astonishment, wrote a single word in red ink beside it. Wow. The name stuck. The wow signal had been born, but where had it come from? And why had it appeared just once, never to be heard again? The signal had all the hallmarks of an artificial transmission, as if someone or something had sent a message across the vastness of space. It originated from the direction of the Sagittarius constellation, near a star called Taos Sagittari, but there were no known planets or celestial objects there that could explain it. It was detected on the 1420 MHz frequency, the natural radio frequency of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. Some scientists believed that if extraterrestrial civilizations were trying to communicate, they might use this frequency, knowing it would stand out. As astronomers scrambled to analyze the signal, excitement grew. If this was truly a message from another world, then it was the first time in history that humanity had received direct evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth. But then came the mystery. No one could find the signal again. Despite repeated efforts, the wow signal was never detected a second time. It was as if the universe had whispered a single word and then gone silent. Some theories suggest the signal might have been a reflection of Earth-based radio interference, bouncing off a piece of space debris or a satellite. But no known transmissions from Earth were active on that frequency at the time. Others speculated it was an unknown celestial phenomenon, a natural event we simply don't yet understand. But again, no repeating signals of this kind have ever been found. And then there is the most intriguing possibility. What if it really was a signal from an advanced extraterrestrial civilization, a message sent across light years, reaching us for a brief moment, before vanishing forever? If so, was it intentional? Was it an accidental leak of some alien technology? Or was it a civilization trying to contact us, only for their message to be lost in the endless cosmic noise? Consider the sheer vastness of space. If intelligent life exists somewhere out there, their signals could be faint, scattered across incomprehensible distances. A transmission from an alien world might be a once-in-a-millennium event, sent from a civilization that existed thousands of years ago, long before humanity even knew how to listen. The wow signal remains a mystery, not because we forgot about it, but because it has never been repeated. In the years since its detection, we have built more powerful telescopes, listened with greater precision, and scanned the sky more thoroughly than ever before. But the cosmos has remained silent. Not a single transmission like it has ever been found again. This raises one of the most haunting possibilities in the search for extraterrestrial life. What if the universe isn't silent, but we are simply listening at the wrong time? What if, in the grand cosmic scale, civilizations rise and fall in the blink of an eye? What if the wow signal was not a beginning, but an echo of something long gone? Imagine drifting through deep space, where radio waves flow like unseen rivers, carrying whispers from dying stars and distant civilizations. The universe is a vast, endless ocean of information, but we are mere infants, just beginning to tune in. The wow signal was a fleeting glimpse into that abyss, a momentary glimpse into something greater than ourselves. Perhaps, somewhere out there, another civilization detected the same signal from our sun. Perhaps, they too, are listening, searching, wondering, and maybe, just maybe, one day the silence will break again. For now, as you drift into sleep, let your mind wander through the endless night of space, where mysteries like the wow signal remain unsolved, waiting for someone, somewhere, to listen once more. The Antikythera mechanism the ancient Greek computer drifting through the depths of time, beneath the endless blue of the Mediterranean Sea, eyes a relic of the ancient world, one that defies our understanding of history, technology, and human ingenuity. It was discovered in the year 1901, hidden beneath centuries of coral and sediment, deep within the remains of an ancient shipwreck off the coast of Antikythera, a small Greek island. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a corroded lump of metal and wood, just another artifact from a lost age. But as the layers of rust were peeled away, something extraordinary was revealed, a machine unlike anything ever seen from the ancient world. What lay before the archaeologists was no ordinary relic, no simple tool of war or trade. It was a complex arrangement of interlocking gears, dials, and inscriptions, a level of mechanical sophistication that by all accounts should not have existed in that era. It would take decades to uncover its true purpose, and even today, its full capabilities remain a mystery. But one thing is certain, the Antikythera mechanism is the oldest known analog computer in history, a device so advanced for its time that it challenges everything we thought we knew about the technological abilities of the ancient Greeks. Imagine a world without electricity, without digital screens, without satellites to track the movements of the heavens. Now imagine building a machine, purely by hand, capable of predicting the movements of the sun, the moon, and even the planets, all with an intricate system of bronze gears. That is exactly what the Antikythera mechanism was designed to do, an astronomical calculator that could forecast celestial events with remarkable accuracy, all powered by nothing more than the turning of a hand crank. The shipwreck itself dates back to around 100 BCE, though some scholars believe the mechanism might have been constructed even earlier, as far back as 200 BCE. This means that over 2,000 years ago, someone, perhaps a lone genius, or an entire school of engineers, created a device so precise, so intricate, that it wouldn't be rivaled again until the dawn of modern clockwork in the 14th century. The sheer complexity of its design suggests a long tradition of mechanical engineering, a lineage of knowledge that may have been lost to time. As scientists studied the device, they uncovered its astonishing functionality. At its heart were over 30 interlocking bronze gears, their teeth carefully shaped to transfer motion with incredible precision. These gears worked together to track the cycles of the sun and moon, predict eclipses, and even model the retrograde motion of the planets, a phenomenon where planets appear to move backward in the sky due to the relative positions of Earth and the other celestial bodies. It was a mechanical cosmos, built with a level of craftsmanship that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. The front of the device featured a series of dials and pointers, each marking the position of the celestial bodies at any given moment. The back contained an intricate system of spiraling scales, allowing it to track the metonic cycle, a 19-year pattern of lunar phases, as well as the Saros cycle, which could predict solar and lunar eclipses with astonishing accuracy. But how did the ancient Greeks achieve this? Where did this knowledge come from? Some historians point to the legendary Archimedes, the brilliant mathematician and engineer, as a possible influence. Others believe it was the work of an unknown master, perhaps a disciple of the famous Greek astronomer Hipparchus, who revolutionized our understanding of celestial motion. What is certain is that such technology did not emerge in isolation. It suggests a deep tradition of scientific craftsmanship that has since been lost to history. Consider what this means for our understanding of ancient civilizations. We often imagine the people of the past as primitive, lacking the tools and knowledge we take for granted today. But the Antikythera mechanism is a stark reminder that intelligence, curiosity, and innovation have always been part of the human experience. If the ancient Greeks could build something so advanced, what other marvels have been lost to time? The discovery of the device also raises another question. Was this the only one of its kind, or were there others? Some scholars speculate that the Antikythera mechanism was not unique, but rather one of many such machines built by an ancient tradition of clockmakers and astronomers. If true, then entire workshops, perhaps even schools of engineering, may have existed in the ancient world, developing technologies far beyond what we previously believed possible. Sadly, no other devices like it have been found, at least not yet. The delicate nature of bronze and wood means that most such mechanisms would have decayed over the centuries, leaving little trace of their existence. But what if more lie hidden beneath the waves, waiting to be discovered? As you listen to this, picture the ancient world, not as a land of simple temples and statues, but as a place where thinkers, craftsmen and visionaries built machines that could decode the heavens. Imagine an ancient astronomer turning the gears of the Antikythera mechanism, watching the delicate dance of the planets unfold before his eyes. Imagine what other secrets may still be waiting, buried beneath the ruins of time. The Antikythera mechanism is more than just an artifact. It is a portal to a lost era, a glimpse into the brilliance of minds that lived thousands of years before us. It reminds us that human ingenuity is not bound by time, that great discoveries can be made in any age, and that for every mystery we solve, countless more remain hidden, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And so, as you drift into sleep, let your mind wander through the corridors of time, where lost knowledge lingers in the shadows, waiting for curious hands to unearth it once more. Somewhere, beneath the endless ocean, another secret may still rest in the deep, waiting to rewrite history all over again. The Dyatlov Pass incident. 9 hikers who vanished under impossible circumstances. On a cold winter night in 1959, 9 hikers set out on what should have been an ordinary expedition through the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. They were experienced mountaineers, young and full of life, eager to conquer the treacherous slopes of Zodiac, a mountain whose name ominously translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. They had no reason to fear. They had prepared for the cold, for the snow, for the exhaustion that came with the high altitudes. What they could not prepare for, however, was the unimaginable fate that awaited them. A fate so bizarre, so utterly inexplicable, that even decades later, the world still struggles to make sense of it. Their journey had started out as planned. They documented each step of the way in diary entries and photographs, laughing, singing, writing about the beauty of the mountains around them. But then, something happened. Something so terrifying that it drove these seasoned hikers to flee their tents into the freezing wilderness, some barefoot, some in only socks, as if they had abandoned all rational thought in sheer panic. When rescuers finally found them weeks later, what they uncovered was nothing short of a nightmare. Mutilated bodies, inexplicable injuries, traces of radiation, and no clear signs of what had caused it all. What could make 9 highly trained individuals, people who had faced blizzards and brutal conditions before, suddenly tear out of their tents in terror, into sub-zero temperatures, with no protection? Their tent was found slashed open from the inside, suggesting they had been so desperate to escape that they hadn't even used the tent's zipper. Their bodies were discovered at different distances from the campsite, some frozen solid, some broken beyond recognition. One was missing a tongue, another had crushed ribs, as if hit by a force greater than any human could deliver, yet there were no external wounds. As investigators pieced together the scene, nothing seemed to make sense. Some of the bodies had high levels of radiation, yet there was no nuclear site nearby. The injuries resembled those from a high-speed car crash, but there was no sign of an avalanche, no falling trees, no evidence of anything large enough to cause such damage. And the most unsettling detail, their faces showed no sign of peace. Their last moments were filled with an unthinkable terror. The Soviet authorities, struggling to find an answer, eventually ruled that the hikers had been killed by an unknown compelling force. But what does that mean? What kind of force? Was it a natural disaster, a freak weather event, something beyond our understanding? Or was it something else, something more sinister? One of the earliest theories was an avalanche, but there were no signs of one. The tent was still standing, partially covered in snow, but not crushed. If an avalanche had forced them to flee, why hadn't they returned once the danger passed? Why were some of them found nearly a mile away, half-dressed, barefoot, in temperatures as low as -30 degrees Celsius, -22 degrees Fahrenheit? Then there was the military experiment theory. Some believe the hikers accidentally stumbled upon a secret Soviet test site, perhaps a weapons test, or an explosion that caused panic, injuries and death. This could explain the radiation found on their clothing, but why were some of their bones crushed with no external bruising? No bomb or known technology could cause that. And what about the strange orbs of light that witnesses reported seeing over the mountains that night? Glowing spheres floating above the peaks, moving in ways that defied logic. Some believe they were UFOs, extraterrestrial visitors, whose presence triggered some unnatural event. Could the hikers have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, encountering something not of this world? Another theory suggests the Mansi people, the indigenous reindeer herders of the region, might have attacked the hikers for trespassing on sacred land. But there were no signs of a struggle, no footprints other than those of the hikers themselves, and no weapons were found. It was as if they had been struck down by something unseen, something beyond human capability. Then there's the infrasound theory, a chilling possibility that suggests certain weather conditions in the mountains created low-frequency sound waves that induced panic, hallucinations, and disorientation. This could explain why the hikers fled their tents in terror, but it doesn't explain their injuries. It doesn't explain why some of them were found with broken bones, missing tongues, and expressions of absolute horror frozen onto their faces. Even today, new theories continue to emerge. Some believe the hikers fell victim to a top-secret Soviet weapon. Others think they encountered a rare natural phenomenon, like a sudden burst of hurricane-force winds, or an ice slab collapse. Yet, none of these explanations fully account for the sheer strangeness of their deaths. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most haunting mysteries of all time, a puzzle with missing pieces, an event that defies explanation. 9 young adventurers, full of life, vanished into the cold wilderness, leaving behind only questions. And as you close your eyes tonight, as your mind drifts through the snow-covered landscape of the Urals, imagine standing there in the frozen silence, the wind whispering through the trees, the vast mountains stretching endlessly before you. Imagine the fear, the confusion, the unseen force that drove them from their tents in the dead of night. The truth is out there, somewhere, buried beneath decades of speculation, lost in the howling winds of the mountains. And maybe, just maybe, it's best that we never truly find out what happened that night in Dyatlov Pass. The bloop, an underwater sound that shouldn't exist. The ocean is a place of endless mystery, a vast, unexplored world that stretches deeper than our imagination can reach. And in 1997, it whispered something to us, something strange, something unexplainable, a sound deep beneath the Pacific, so loud, so immense, that it seemed to come from something far bigger than any creature we know to exist. It was called the bloop, and to this day, it remains one of the greatest unsolved riddles of the deep. It happened in the cold waters of the South Pacific, far from any land, in a place so remote that few humans had ever ventured near it. Scientists at the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, had set up underwater microphones, hydrophones, originally meant to listen for submarines and distant icebergs. But instead of something familiar, they heard something impossible. A low, powerful rumble, echoing through the vastness of the ocean, so loud that it was picked up by hydrophones thousands of miles apart. The scientists had never heard anything like it. And then, just as mysteriously as it arrived, it vanished. At first, they thought it must have been a whale. After all, the ocean is filled with creatures who communicate through sound. But there was a problem. No whale on Earth could make a noise this loud. Blue whales, the largest animals to have ever lived, produced deep, resonant calls. But the bloop was many times louder than that. And then there was the matter of its frequency. It had a strange organic quality, something that didn't quite match the patterns of shifting ice or volcanic activity. It was as if the ocean itself had spoken. But if it wasn't a whale, what was it? Some thought it might have been a giant squid, a deep-sea creature capable of producing sounds we had never heard before. But there's one problem. Squid don't have vocal cords. They don't make sounds at all, at least none that we've detected. Whatever made the bloop had to be something else. As theories spread, so did the fascination. People began to wonder, what if the bloop was something alive, something enormous, lurking in the unexplored depths, hidden in the trenches where sunlight never reaches? Some even suggested that it could be a new species of sea creature, something bigger than a whale, something we haven't discovered yet. After all, more than 80% of the ocean remains unexplored. We've mapped the surface of the moon in more detail than we have our own ocean floor. Who's to say what secrets still lie beneath? Then there's the most unsettling possibility of all, the idea that the bloop was not just a sound, but a voice. Some theorists, drawing from myths and legends, speculated that the bloop could be the call of a hidden leviathan, something ancient, something massive, something that sleeps in the abyss and only rarely stirs. It's the kind of thought that lingers in the back of your mind, that makes you wonder about the shadows in the water when you stand on the deck of a ship, looking down into the endless blue. And yet, despite all these eerie theories, scientists eventually put forward an explanation: isoquakes. According to NOAA, the bloop's frequency closely matched the sound of massive icebergs cracking apart, shifting under the immense pressure of the ocean. It was a logical answer, a safe answer. But not everyone is convinced. The problem with the icequake theory is that no other known icequake has matched the sheer power and scale of the bloop. If it really was just an iceberg, then it must have been a phenomenon unlike anything we've ever observed before. And why has it never been heard again? Isoquakes continue to happen all over the world, but none of them have ever replicated the bloop's exact signature. Then there's another strange coincidence: the location of the bloop. It was detected near Point Nemo, the most isolated place in the entire ocean. It's so remote that the closest humans to it are often astronauts on the International Space Station. And oddly enough, Point Nemo is also where the famous horror writer H.P. Lovecraft placed the sunken city of R'lyeh, the legendary resting place of the cosmic entity Cthulhu. Of course, it's just a story, but isn't it strange how reality sometimes echoes our oldest fears? Maybe the bloop was nothing more than the restless shifting of ice, a natural occurrence amplified by the ocean's vast acoustics. Or maybe, just maybe, it was something else, something that lives too deep for us to see, something that makes itself known only through sound, and perhaps in the vast silence of the ocean, it is still out there waiting. The Devil's Kettle, a waterfall that swallows half its water. There is a place, deep within the forests of Minnesota, where the water plays tricks on the eye, a place where nature itself seems to break its own rules. A waterfall, splitting into two streams, one flowing downstream like any ordinary river, and the other, it vanishes, swallowed by the earth, disappearing into the unknown. This is the mystery of the Devil's Kettle, a place that has puzzled scientists, explorers, and dreamers for generations. It lies along the Brule River, a winding, restless body of water that carves its way through Judge C.R. Magny State Park. For most of its journey, the river behaves exactly as one would expect, tumbling over rocks and weaving through the landscape like any other waterway. But then, it reaches the waterfall, a dramatic split in the river's path. One side crashes downward into a foamy cascade, following the natural course of gravity, but the other, it flows into a deep, gaping hole in the rock, the Devil's Kettle, and then, as if by magic, it is gone. For decades, scientists and curious visitors have asked the same question: where does the water go? Normally, a river that disappears underground would resurface somewhere, spilling out into a hidden cave, or re-emerging as a spring farther downstream. But no one has ever found a trace of the missing water. It simply vanishes. Countless attempts have been made to solve the mystery. Researchers have poured dye into the hole, expecting it to show up somewhere downstream. It never did. They have tossed in ping-pong balls, waiting for them to resurface. They never did. There are even stories of people throwing larger objects, sticks, logs, even an old car part, into the kettle, only to watch them be swallowed whole, never to be seen again. The most logical explanation is that the water flows into a hidden underground river, weaving its way through cracks in the ancient rock, before spilling out somewhere unseen. But if that were the case, why has no one ever detected its reappearance? Wouldn't the dye, at the very least, reveal the water's secret path? Yet, time and time again, the experiment has failed. The river keeps its secrets well. Some speculate that the hole connects to an underground cavern, so deep and vast that the water disperses into an unseen network of tunnels. Others suggest that the kettle might lead to an ancient fault line, where the water seeps into layers of rock too deep for us to trace. But the most unsettling possibility, the idea that the water simply ceases to exist, that it flows into a void where the rules of nature no longer apply. This is where the legends begin. Stories passed down through generations speak of the Devil's Kettle as a doorway to another world, a place where the water does not just vanish, but is taken. Some say that long ago, people would whisper of the spirits of the forest, who claimed the water as their own, a sacred stream that could not be disturbed. Others believe the kettle is a portal to something unknown, a place where time and space bend in ways we cannot comprehend. Even the name, Devil's Kettle, carries a sense of unease. It conjures images of a cauldron, a place where something brews beneath the surface, something unseen. Why would the land swallow water so completely? Why would it refuse to give up its secrets? In recent years, scientists have attempted to solve the riddle using modern technology. They have studied the rock formations, mapped the underground terrain, and tested the flow of water with more advanced tracking methods. Some believe they are close to an answer, that the water does eventually rejoin the river downstream, but in such a scattered way that it becomes undetectable. Others remain unconvinced. If the answer were so simple, why has it taken so long to find? Perhaps that is the beauty of the Devil's Kettle. It is a reminder that, even in our world of science and logic, there are still mysteries we cannot explain. It is a reminder that nature still holds secrets, that there are places where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the laws of reality seem to falter. Imagine standing at the edge of the waterfall, watching as half the river tumbles downward, crashing against the rocks below, while the other half spirals into the unknown. The sound of rushing water fills the air, but where does it go? Close your eyes and picture it, following the hidden path, winding through unseen tunnels, slipping through cracks in the earth, vanishing into a place beyond our understanding. The Black Knight satellite, an object that shouldn't be in orbit, far above us, beyond the reach of our tallest mountains and highest flying aircraft, lies the silent emptiness of space, a vast and endless ocean of darkness, speckled with the cold glow of distant stars. It is a place where the rules of Earth no longer apply, where gravity loosens its grip, and where time itself seems to stretch and bend. And yet, even in this realm of the unknown, there are mysteries that defy explanation. One such mystery is the legend of the Black Knight satellite, an object that some believe has been silently orbiting our planet for thousands of years, watching, waiting, never revealing its true purpose. The story of the Black Knight is one that drifts between fact and fiction, science and conspiracy, reality and myth. It begins in the 1950s, when strange signals were detected from space, radio transmissions that seemed to come from an unknown object in Earth's orbit. At a time when satellites were a new and rare phenomenon, the idea that an unidentified craft could be circling the planet was deeply unsettling. Was it a secret government experiment, a relic from an ancient civilization, or something even stranger, something not of this world? Reports of the Black Knight grew over the years, with some claiming that the object had been detected long before the space age even began. In 1899, the famous inventor Nikola Tesla claimed to have received unusual signals from space while experimenting with radio waves. At the time, there were no satellites, no artificial signals bouncing through the atmosphere, just the vast silent cosmos. Tesla believed he had intercepted a message from an intelligent extraterrestrial source. Could it have come from the Black Knight? In the 1960s, scientists tracking Soviet and American space missions reported an unknown object in orbit, one that did not match any known satellites. Some believed it was a piece of lost space debris, a remnant of an old mission that had gone unrecorded. Others, however, were convinced it was something else, something ancient. Photographs taken by NASA's space shuttles in the 1990s seemed to show an odd angular object floating above Earth, its dark surface stark against the blue of the planet below. The images sparked widespread speculation. Could this be the legendary Black Knight? The idea gained traction among UFO enthusiasts, who claimed the object had been present for centuries, its origins unknown. And yet, despite all the theories, no concrete evidence has ever been found. NASA dismisses the Black Knight as nothing more than space debris, possibly a discarded thermal blanket from a past mission, caught in orbit and mistaken for something more mysterious. But that explanation has not stopped the legend from growing. If the Black Knight is real, what could it be? Some believe it is an alien probe, sent to observe humanity from above, watching as our civilizations rise and fall, as our technologies evolve. A silent observer, recording our history, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Others suggest it could be a relic from an advanced ancient civilization, a forgotten piece of technology that predates recorded history, drifting endlessly above the Earth. And then there are the stranger theories, the ones that suggest the Black Knight is not just a satellite, but a message, a beacon, sending signals across the cosmos, a warning perhaps, or an invitation. But maybe the mystery is not meant to be solved. Perhaps the Black Knight is one of those riddles that exists simply to remind us how little we truly understand. As you close your eyes and drift into sleep, imagine looking up at the night sky. Imagine an object, dark and silent, moving across the stars, unseen by most, unnoticed by many. It is there, watching, waiting, orbiting in the endless dark. And perhaps, just perhaps, it has been there far longer than we can comprehend. The disappearance of the Sodder children, a mystery that still haunts. The quiet town of Fayetteville, West Virginia, lay covered in a soft blanket of snow on Christmas Eve, 1945. Twinkling lights flickered in windows, laughter echoed from homes, and families gathered to celebrate the holiday. But inside the Sodder family's house, a mystery was about to unfold, one that would leave lingering questions, unexplained clues, and a sense of deep, unsettling loss that would haunt the family for the rest of their lives. That night, 5 of the 10 Sodder children would disappear without a trace, leaving behind only whispers, strange circumstances, and a mystery that has never been fully solved. George and Jenny Sodder were hard-working, loving parents, raising their large family in the shadow of the Appalachian Mountains. Their home was a bustling place, filled with the warmth of family life. On that particular Christmas Eve, excitement filled the air. Some of the children had been allowed to stay up late, playing with new toys and enjoying the holiday spirit. No one could have imagined that, before the night was over, their lives would be changed forever. Sometime after midnight, a fire broke out in the Sodder home. Flames spread rapidly, consuming the wooden structure with terrifying speed. Jenny and George rushed to gather their children, but confusion and chaos filled the air as smoke thickened. The fire roared, and time slipped away. By the time the parents made it outside, only 4 of their 10 children had escaped with them. The other 5 were nowhere to be seen. As the blaze engulfed the house, George made desperate attempts to re-enter the burning home. He tried to climb back inside, but was pushed back by the suffocating heat. He ran to get his ladder, only to find that it was mysteriously missing. He attempted to start his trucks to drive close to the house, hoping to climb up and reach the windows, but both vehicles refused to start. Despite working perfectly earlier that day, every effort to save the children was blocked by something unexplained, as if an invisible hand was ensuring that no rescue attempt could succeed. By morning, the fire had burned the house to the ground, and yet, as the ashes cooled, one chilling fact became apparent. There were no human remains in the debris, no bones, no traces of the 5 children who had supposedly perished in the flames. It was as if they had simply vanished. Fire experts found this highly unusual. Even in intense fires, bones do not completely disintegrate. Some trace of the children should have remained, but there was nothing. Investigators ruled that the fire had been caused by faulty wiring, but the Sodders were not convinced. They had noticed strange occurrences in the days leading up to the fire, events that now seemed like ominous warnings. A traveling salesman had visited George Sodder shortly before Christmas, warning him that his house would go up in smoke because of his political views. A strange man had been seen watching the children as they played outside, and on the night of the fire, Jenny had heard a loud thud on the roof just before the flames erupted, followed by the sound of something rolling. Then came the most chilling discovery. A few months later, one of the Sodder children found a charred rubber object in the yard. Some speculated that it was a device meant to start a fire, possibly a Molotov cocktail, or a grenade-like explosive. Could someone have intentionally set the fire to cover up a kidnapping? Leads continued to surface, Witnesses claimed to have seen the missing children alive, far from home. One woman insisted she had seen them in a diner with strange, unidentified adults. Another witness claimed to have spotted them in a hotel weeks later, where they were accompanied by people who refused to let them speak. The Sodders never gave up searching. They hired private investigators, followed every lead, and even put up a billboard with photos of the children, offering a reward for any information. Their plea was simple: what happened to our children? In 1967, more than 2 decades after the fire, Jenny Sodder received an anonymous photograph in the mail. It was a picture of a young man who bore a striking resemblance to their missing son, Louis. On the back of the photo, a cryptic message was written: Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, Eel boys, a 90,132 or 35. Was this a cruel hoax, or had Louis somehow survived? The Sodders hired a private investigator to track down the source of the photo, but just as he began to investigate, he vanished without a trace, never to be heard from again. The mystery of the Sodder children remains one of the most chilling unsolved cases in American history. If they died in the fire, why were there no remains? If they were kidnapped, why would someone take them? And what did the strange warnings, the missing ladder, the dead vehicles, and the unknown object on the roof mean? Even after George and Jenny passed away, their surviving children continued to search for answers. But the truth has remained elusive, buried beneath the ashes of that Christmas Eve tragedy. The time-traveling hipster, a man out of place. The discovery of this photograph sent waves across the internet, fueling speculation, intrigue, and endless theories. Found in a historical archive, the image was not doctored or manipulated. It was genuine, a real moment in time. Yet how could this man, with his modern appearance, exist in a time when none of those fashion choices were common? Was he a traveler from the future, momentarily captured in history, before slipping away once more? Or was it simply a trick of perspective, a coincidence shaped by our own perceptions? These are the kinds of riddles that make reality feel malleable, where the line between fact and fiction begins to blur, where the possible and the impossible overlap like shadows at dusk. Time travel has long been a dream of science fiction, a whisper of possibility that lingers in the deepest corners of the human mind. The thought of stepping through time, of moving backward or forward at will, is both exhilarating and terrifying. And yet, what if it has already happened? What if someone has already cracked the code of time itself, leaving behind only the faintest of traces? A man in a photograph, a figure out of place, a moment that defies explanation. The human mind is wired to seek patterns, to make sense of the strange and the unexplained. And so, we search for answers, for explanations that fit within the framework of what we know. Some skeptics claim that the so-called time traveler is nothing more than a man dressed in a way that, while unusual for the time, is not entirely impossible. They argue that sunglasses, though rare, did exist, that the design on his shirt, while modern-looking, could have been from an obscure brand, that the camera he holds, while compact, might have been an advanced model for its time. And yet, there is something about the image that unsettles, that refuses to be dismissed so easily. The posture, the stance, the way he seems so distinct from the people around him, as if he has walked into a different world entirely. What if time travel, rather than being a distant dream, is already a reality? What if somewhere in the folds of existence, there are people who have cracked the secret of moving through the ages? Imagine slipping through the veil of time, stepping through the decades, as easily as one moves from room to room. Perhaps there are those who wander through history, unnoticed, silent observers, who leave only the faintest hints of their presence behind. A misplaced artifact, an inexplicable figure in an old photograph, a whispered story that never quite adds up. Could it be that this man, caught so effortlessly in an old image, was one of them? The idea of time travel has fascinated humankind for generations, from ancient myths to modern theories of quantum physics. Some scientists speculate that time may not be as rigid as we believe, that there could be unseen pathways, loops and folds hidden within the very fabric of the universe. What if time is not a straight line, but a vast shifting sea, with currents that can be navigated by those who understand its depths? Could the time-traveling hipster be evidence of such a journey, a wanderer who stepped from the future into the past, if only for a brief moment? And if time travel is real, what does it mean for us? Could history itself be rewritten, altered by unseen hands? Perhaps the timeline we know is not the only one, but merely one thread in an intricate, ever-changing tapestry. Perhaps in some other version of history, this photograph does not exist. Or perhaps, in another timeline, it is not just one man, but many who move unseen through the corridors of time, leaving traces for those who dare to look closely. There is something deeply haunting about an unanswered question, about a riddle with no solution. It lingers in the mind, pressing against the edges of consciousness, whispering that the world is stranger than we dare to imagine. As you drift into sleep, let your thoughts wander through the mysteries of time. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of history, watching as figures from the past and future move through the shadows. Perhaps time is not as distant as it seems. Perhaps the answers are closer than we think. And perhaps, somewhere in an old photograph, another traveler has already been caught, waiting to be discovered.